In Judaism, a rabbi, is a teacher of Torah. This title derives from the Hebrew word Rabbi, meaning my master, which is the way a student would address a master of Torah. The word master, Rav, literally means great one. The basic form of the rabbi developed in the Pharisaic and Talmudic era, when learned teachers assembled to codify Judaism's written and oral laws. In more recent centuries, the duties of the rabbi became increasingly influenced by the duties of the Protestant Christian minister. Hence the title, pulpit rabbis, and in 19th-century Germany and the United States rabbinic activities including sermons, pastoral counseling, and representing the community to the outside, all increased in importance. Within the various Jewish denominations there are different requirements for rabbinic ordination, and differences in opinion regarding who is to be recognized as a rabbi. Orthodox Judaism does not ordain women as rabbis, but other strands do. Etymology. The word rabbi derives from the Semitic root rabbi, in Hebrew script rav, which in Biblical Aramaic means great, in many senses, including revered, but appears primarily as a prefix in construct forms. Although the usage rabbim, many, the majority, the multitude, occurs for the assembly of the community in the Dead Sea Scrolls, there is no evidence to support an association with the later title, rabbi. The root is cognate to Arabic rab, meaning Lord. As a sign of great respect, some great rabbis are simply called the Rav. Rabbi is not an occupation found in the Hebrew Bible, and ancient generations did not employ related titles such as Rabban, Rabbi, or Rab to describe either the Babylonian sages or the sages in Israel. The titles Rabban and Rabbi are first mentioned in the Mishnah. The term was first used for Rabban Gamaliel the elder, Rabban Simeon his son, and Rabban Yohanan ben Zakkai, all of whom were patriarchs or presidents of the Sanhedrin. The title, Rabbi, occurs in the books of Matthew, Mark, and John in the New Testament, where it is used in reference to scribes and Pharisees, as well as to Jesus. Pronunciation. Sephardic and Yemenite Jews pronounce this word Rabbi. The modern Israeli pronunciation Rabbi is derived from an 18th-century innovation in Ashkenazi prayer books, although this vocalization is also found in some ancient sources. Other variants are Revian, in Yiddish, Rebbe. The word could be compared to the Syriac word Rabbi. In ancient Hebrew, rabbi was a proper term of address while speaking to a superior, in the second person, similar to a vocative case. While speaking about a superior, in the third person one could say ha-rav or rabba. Later, the term evolved into a formal title for members of the patriarchate. Thus, the title gained an irregular plural form, rabbanim, and not rabbi. Honor. According to the Talmud, it is a commandment to stand up for a rabbi or Torah scholar, and one should also stand for their spouses and address them with respect. Kohanim are required to honor rabbis and Torah scholars like everybody else. However, if one is more learned than the rabbi or the scholar, there is no need to stand. In many places today and throughout history, rabbis and Torah scholars had and still have the power to place individuals who insulted them in excommunication. Historical overview. The governments of the kingdoms of Israel and Judah were based on a system of Jewish kings, prophets, the legal authority of the court of the Sanhedrin and the ritual authority of priesthood. Members of the Sanhedrin had to receive their ordination derived in an uninterrupted line of transmission from Moses. Yet rather than being referred to as rabbis, they were more frequently called judges akin to the Shoftim or judges, as in the Book of Judges. All of the above personalities would have been expected to be steeped in the wisdom of the Torah and the commandments, which would have made them rabbis, in the modern sense of the word. This is illustrated by a 2,000-year-old teaching in the Mishnah, Ethics of the Fathers, which observed about King David. one who learns from their companion a single chapter, a single halakha, a single verse, a single Torah statement, or even a single letter, must treat them with honor. For so we find with David king of Israel, who learned nothing from Ahithophel except two things, yet called him his teacher. Hebrew text. Rabbi, his guide, his intimate, as it is said, "You are a man of my measure, my guide, my intimate." One can derive from this the following: if David king of Israel, who learned nothing from Ahithophel except for two things, called him his teacher, his guide, his intimate, one who learns from their companion a single chapter, a single halakha, a single verse, a single statement, or even a single letter, how much more must they treat them with honor? And honor is due only for Torah, as it is said, "The wise shall inherit honor, and the perfect shall inherit good." And only Torah is truly good, as it is said, "I have given you a good teaching. Do not forsake my Torah." With the destruction of the two temples in Jerusalem, the end of the Jewish monarchy, and the decline of the dual institutions of prophets and the priesthood, the focus of scholarly and spiritual leadership within the Jewish people shifted to the sages of the men of the Great Assembly. This assembly was composed of the earliest group of rabbis, in the more modern sense of the word, in large part because they began the formulation and explication of what became known as Judaism's oral law. This was eventually encoded and codified within the Mishnah and Talmud and subsequent rabbinical scholarship, leading to what is known as Rabbinic Judaism. Sages. The title Rabbi was borne by the sages of ancient Israel, who were ordained by the Sanhedrin in accordance with the custom handed down by the elders. They were titled Rabbi and received authority to judge penal cases. Rab was the title of the Babylonian sages who taught in the Babylonian academies. After the suppression of the Patriarchate and Sanhedrin by Theodosius II in 425, there was no more formal ordination in the strict sense. A recognized scholar could be called Rab or Hashem, like the Babylonian sages. The transmission of learning from master to disciple remained of tremendous importance, but there was no formal rabbinic qualification as such. Middle Ages Maimonides rules that every congregation is obliged to appoint a preacher and scholar to admonish the community and teach Torah, and the social institution he describes as the germ of the modern congregational rabbinate. In the 15th century in Central Europe, the custom grew up of licensing scholars with a diploma entitling them to be called Mori. At the time this was objected to as Hukit Hagoi, as it was felt to resemble the conferring of doctorates in Christian universities. However, the system spread, and it is this diploma that is referred to as semitura at the present day. 18th–19th centuries. In 19th century Germany and the United States, the duties of the rabbi became increasingly influenced by the duties of the Protestant Christian minister, hence the title, pulpit rabbis. Sermons, pastoral counseling, representing the community to the outside, all increased in importance. Non-Orthodox rabbis, on a day-to-day business basis, now spend more time on these traditionally non-rabbinic functions than they do teaching, or answering questions on Jewish law and philosophy. Within the modern Orthodox community, rabbis still mainly deal with teaching and questions of Jewish law, but are increasingly dealing with these same pastoral functions. Orthodox Judaism's National Council of Young Israel and Modern Orthodox Judaism's Rabbinical Council of America have set up supplemental pastoral training programs for their rabbis. Traditionally, rabbis have never been an intermediary between God and humans. This idea was traditionally considered outside the bounds of Jewish theology. Unlike spiritual leaders in many other faiths, they are not considered to be imbued with special powers or abilities. Authority. Acceptance of rabbinic credentials involves both issues of practicality and principle. As a practical matter, communities and individuals typically tend to follow the authority of the rabbi they have chosen as their leader on issues of Jewish law. They may recognize that other rabbis have the same authority elsewhere. but for decisions and opinions important to them they will work through their own rabbi. The same pattern is true within broader communities, ranging from Hasidic communities to rabbinical or congregational organizations. There will be a formal or de facto structure of rabbinic authority that is responsible for the members of the community.